Joining me now, Seth Dillon is the CEO of Babylon Bee and Libs of TikTok, and he joins me. Seth, I thought you'd be joining me from some like bunker instead of just a regular office building, considering all the hate that's coming y'all's way. This is truly extraordinary because I think if we lived in a rational world, the story would be, why in the world are hospitals? This is medical abuse. This is some kind of, a quasi appeal to authority. We're doctors, so we know better than you. We're going to perform unnecessary surgery and pump these teenagers full of hormones without even knowing the full extent of the consequences of those actions. That's not the story. The story is, how dare you all talk about it? Talk to me a little bit about this. Is she back? Is Libs of TikTok able to be even back on Twitter yet?
No, not yet. Still locked out temporarily.
That's insane.
So, yeah, the suspension was for 7 days. They didn't really specify why, other than to say violations of hateful conduct. This is apparently hateful conduct to talk about these things, to draw these things to people's attention. We're trying to understand how that's the case. This is coming from a place of concern for children who are too young to be able to consent to procedures. Like, first of all, I don't think these procedures should be done on anybody. This is doing irreversible damage to people's bodies, but to be doing it to minors is incredible. And you're absolutely right. The outrageous thing here is that instead of being upset about the fact that these hospitals are advertising these procedures to children and confirming that they do them when you call them and ask about it, people are outraged that we talked about it, that we reported on it. And this is the thing, is all these attacks that are coming out, Libs of TikTok are saying Libs of TikTok is spreading misinformation, and that's now leading to violence at clinics and these threats on these clinics. And it's shocking to me that they're going to lie and take that tack too. I mean, you're reporting for yourself, right? This is what the hospital said. We have the screenshots of the hospital's website. So if you want to say that somebody's putting misinformation out there, if the hospital staffers are lying and their website is incorrect, accuse the hospital of putting out misinformation, not us for reporting on what the hospital told us.
That's a great point. We're talking with Seth Dillon, CEO of Babylon Bee and Libs of TikTok. Because the misinformation, and that's all that's all Libs of TikTok has ever done, is simply take what other people have posted and what exists on, like, the Boston Children's Hospital website and put it out there. She had linked to, and I think I don't know if this is one of the tweets that was that she had to delete or something to that effect. We had it on the show last week, where there was, maybe it was Boston Medical, maybe it was their children's hospital, where they were saying that they do this hormone therapy for gender affirmation, which is still such an Orwellian word. But yet in the same statement, they also admit that there are really no long-term studies done. They're just beginning now to look at what the effects of this hormonal treatment will be. But yet they're telling everyone it's safe and therefore it's a legitimate, effective medical treatment. And she accurately pointed out, how can you say this when you also say that you have no evidence at all whatsoever to support your claim that it's safe? There's no studies done on this. That's not medicine or science, but she's the violent one.
This is experimentation, is what it is. The children who are undergoing these procedures right now are the study. We're going to find out 10 years from now how this actually impacts children in their lives, what they go on to deal with in terms of depression, suicide rates, regret. And you're already seeing a lot of it. I mean, it's not hard to find people who are posting online about how they have deep regrets about going through with these procedures. And so there's a lot of harm and damage being done. They haven't fully figured out exactly what the impact of all of this is. All they know is, and the drum that they keep beating is, this is the affirming, loving, compassionate thing to do. Just affirm these children and whatever. And what I think is really, like, evil about all of this is that the reason so many of these kids are confused about their gender is because they've been influenced to be confused about their gender. So we're actually foisting this confusion on them and then saying the answer to it is life-altering, irreversibly damaging surgery that's going to change and destroy their lives. So we're creating the problem and then compounding the problem by offering what's not actually a solution. So I don't know. I think the whole thing is really sick and crazy. And it's absolutely a sign of the clown world that we're living in, that you can object to this stuff on moral grounds and say, hey, look, I think this is wrong. I think it's bad that it's happening. Here's what's actually happening. Here's what you need to know about. And simply showcasing that and putting it out there to the world. Like you said, Libs of TikTok just takes what's out there and presents it to everyone so they can see it. Yeah. We're just holding it up. We're holding it up so you can look at it. It's not like we're calling for anyone to do it. We're not even calling for protests. No. We haven't said, go protest this hospital. We're just saying this is what's happening at this hospital.
I've never seen anything more Orwellian unfold than not only how you guys are fact checked, how Babylon Bee is fact checked, but also how Libs of TikTok is attacked because it just simply an account that reposts previously publicly posted information. To your point, Seth, a story out today, Florida Medicaid sees soaring increase of kids receiving puberty blockers, hormones, and irreversible surgery. Rates of children taking puberty blockers has increased nearly 270%, according to Florida Medicaid data. Is this the influence? Is it an influence that we're seeing on social media? Is it of Hollywood entertainment? Is it all of it? I mean, clearly, yeah. I mean, because I don't remember growing up with stuff like this.
No, it's trendy. It's absolutely trendy. It's popular. You've now got parents that have multiple kids. Oh, all three of our kids are trans at the age of 3, 4, and 5. It's unbelievably trendy. And Bill Maher made a joke about this. He's half joking because he's taking it very seriously. He thinks it's terrible. But he made a comment about this. It's like, how is it that all of a sudden all these kids are born in the wrong body? All of a sudden, overnight, we have all these kids born in the wrong body. Is it really just that we're more accepting now, or are we actually influencing these kids? And that's the point I'm making, is that we are very aggressively, and by we, I mean as a society, not myself. I would discourage this every step of the way. But as a society, as a culture, in the entertainment industry, of course, on TikTok, but even with parents and these teachers at these schools, are the books that we're presenting to them, the entertainment that we're presenting to them, we're pushing this as if it's a really great thing, and more people should. It's like we're trying to make as many kids trans as possible.
You bring up a really good point. And then we're putting them on
these paths to go through surgeries and have to be on medication for the rest of their lives to try to adapt their bodies to being the other sex, which is not even possible. You have to just keep pumping yourself with hormones. So I just think I think it's terrible, and what's really, really wrong about it is the suggestion that the people who are objecting to it are somehow motivated by hatred. Okay, this idea that we're motivated by hatred. We hate the LGBTQ community because we're objecting to this stuff. This is about behavior. This is about evil behavior that we're objecting to, that's doing real world harm to children.
Yeah.
That's what we're objecting to. It's why we object to drag shows for children, for example. This is sexualizing and negatively influencing and corrupting innocent children. It has nothing to do with the identity of the person who's doing it, whether they're gay or straight, whether they're trans. Who cares? They can do whatever they want.
It's wild. And the children of presence at drag shows, it's almost like kids are used as a modern day indulgence. However many kids you bring to a drag show, like in Roanoke down the highway from me in Texas, however many kids you bring, apparently that raises your value in the woke scold community a couple of bars, because it just proves your commitment to the cause. You brought up a really good point. We're talking to Seth Dillon, CEO of Babylon Bee and Libs of TikTok. If you're listening across the country, hundreds of affiliates, or watching the simulcast on the First or YouTube, acceptance used to mean, you used to have tolerance and acceptance. And at some point in the past, like 15, 20 years, tolerance became to mean acceptance. And you just said something interesting a bit ago. You were talking about influence and acceptance, because now it seems as though acceptance means influence, that unless you're part of either supporting or somehow assisting in the influence in some way, then you are phobic, you are transphobic or whatever phobic now. What do you think about that? Because it seems that line, it seems like that line's disappeared. Acceptance is now influence.
Yeah. Well, all of it. I mean, the hijacking of terms like tolerance, tolerance is supposed to mean bearing with something that you find unbearable, but you tolerate it. You deal with it, you cope with it, even though it's something that you don't affirm necessarily. Tolerance has nothing to do with affirmation, right?
Right.
I tolerate, the fact that my tag on my shirt is itching me right now just to get through the day until I can change my shirt. It's it should. But it's really messed up how we're trying to position these things where we're changing the meanings of these terms. And the reason that they're doing this, it's very clear to me. I think it's self-evidently clear that the strategy here is to sideline and silence anybody who opposes any of this stuff on any level. If you voice any concerns, any objections, unless you're affirming and celebrating these things, then yes, you fall into that camp of people who are hateful. And the big tech policies, on hateful conduct, they're very clear. You engage in hateful conduct, you're gone. So it's a really easy path for them to go down to say, hey, look, we don't like this criticism. We want these things to move forward without criticism. So we'll just simply paint with a broad brush everybody who objects to it on any level, even if they're objecting to the behavior itself because they think it's bad behavior. We're gonna call them hateful. We're going to call them bigots. We're going to say that what they want is for people to die. And that's why they're objecting to this, is because they want violent protesters to show up and kill everyone involved in what's happening. It's like, look, we don't want kids to be corrupted. We don't want kids to be sexualized. We don't want kids to be mutilated by surgeons before they're old enough to make decisions like that have permanent, lasting implications for their lives. That's what we don't want. That's what we're objecting to. You can't paint that as hatred, but they do. They do try to paint it as hatred, and it's all about speech control and protecting their narrative and their agenda that they're trying to advance from any criticism whatsoever. That's what this is about.
If it was about love from their point, they would have made sure that the stuff that they were doing at the bare minimum was safe. I'm right with you. I agree with you 1,000% on it. But they don't even make it safe. I have to ask you about this headline from Vice, talking with Seth Dillon. Apparently, libs of TikTok is helping the Kremlin boost anti-LGBTQ disinformation. I would say, Seth, that because Putin drinks water and you drink water, why are you helping the Kremlin? I mean, it's just such a lame association.
Yeah, I haven't even talked to Putin since yesterday. I mean, this is so ridiculous. Come on. They're really reaching. The fact that they would go for like the Russia, like we're colluding with Russia now, just like Trump, like after all that narrative has been through, where they've tried to advance that and it just hasn't worked. The fact that they're falling back on that really kind of reeks of desperation to me. I just think it's funny. I don't even have a response to that one other than to say that's comical. That guy's a clown.
I can't believe this guy got paid to write this piece. I mean, this is like Fisher Price journalism. This is so bad. It's
terrible. But the story that was coming out last night, about this hospital this DC hospital the Boston hospital that was threatened with a bomb apparently.
And then that was a false claim. Were there any apologies given for that?
No. Well, what happened was, somebody anonymously called in a threat, and they checked it out. They cleared it out. There was no bomb. It was a fake bomb threat. Anonymously called into the police or the hospital. I'm not sure which. It's not abundantly clear. But everybody was quick to say, oh, well, this is because of these far right groups like Libs of TikTok that are condemning these hospitals' practices. They wanted this to happen. The blood will be on their hands. I would bet money. In fact, I would bet a meaningful amount of money that whoever called in that tip is somebody who's trying to advance this narrative that we are inciting violence. I believe this was an unhinged leftist who called in that tip.
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second that it was like one of our followers who was inspired. This is a children's hospital where our concern is for children. Our followers' concern is for children, the well-being of children. We're not threatening hospitals. We're not trying to blow up hospitals and get people to show up there and plant bombs.
Yeah.
I highly, highly, highly doubt that it was anybody who's a supporter of Libs of TikTok who made this phone call. I think it was an unhinged leftist.
Yeah, none of you are anti-crisis pregnancy center advocates. So that's, we're out of time at this point, but we'd love to have you back. Seth Dillon with Babylon Bee and Libs of TikTok. Keep doing what you're doing and shining the light, even though they try to put it out. We appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me come on to give our side of it.
Of course, as always.